G'day viewers, fellow gold refiners, gold lovers in general. Welcome back to my series of refining recovery without the use of nitric acid, or with as little as possible used. I hope you are enjoying this series. I'm trying to make as many as I can think of. In the comments, please leave me a request if there's something that you want to see. I may already be in the process of making it, or I may not have thought about it. So let's carry on with another one from the series. Hey viewers, I just want to ask, I'm sure that everyone can relate, but have you ever had one of those days where everything goes wrong? Well, for me, that was yesterday. Absolutely everything I touched turned to shit. Just from the time I got up to the time I went to bed was a hell of a day. Now, the point I'm trying to make is I was working on this gold and I couldn't get the MAP gas to heat it up enough when I've used it countless times before, and it did work. It's changed names now from MAP gas to trade flame, and I'm convinced that trade flame is not as good. They make out like it's exactly the same thing, but I have had trouble after trouble after trouble with trade flame. I never had an issue when it was called MAP gas. Not only could I not heat it up properly, but it weighed in at less than what I wanted. I had expected, well, it started off at 21 grams. I kind of figured it's definitely dirty. I knew it was well and truly contaminated, but I kind of thought that I'd at least get half of what I started with, and I was going to be happy with 10 grams, which is slightly less than half. But to see what it weighed up as, I was shocked. And then if that's not enough, when I was removing or transferring the files from my phone to my computer, I accidentally deleted the first three frames, the first three video clips. I should have just put my hands up and said I'm not doing anything for the rest of the day because everything went wrong. So basically, just letting you know why it may seem to start in a weird position, because I'm missing the first three frames. You've missed the viewing of how much powder there was. I'm not really sure what else. I haven't looked through the rest of the clips from 3 onwards to know where I'm up to, but I will before I start fully editing. I had to add this in there, otherwise you'd think, why did it start like that? That's a bit weird. I did get a nice result in the end, just not as much as I would have liked. So here we go. Just keep in mind that I did weigh it, I did view the weigh. The very first refine, I used bleach and hydrochloric acid.
Hello?
And then the second two refines I used nitric acid. But I wanted to prove that it could be done both ways. And it was to wind up the series of using little or no nitric. So I'll get on to it. There's enough talking. Alright, enjoy. Definitely there would be residues of gold in order to get that purple. But just in case, even if there's no gold in there, just in case, I get every bit of gold I can. So I'm going to put some bleach in there. And once that's clean, I'll then transfer that into the beakers and the jar and all the dish and everything to remove all the gold from there as well. I'm going to put a lid on here like that, and then once that's done, I'll transfer it to those other vessels. Once they're all clean, I'll put it aside, ready to use for this. Okay, I've poured off the first rinse. Now it's time to do the second one. I'll let that settle down and I'll pour that off. I won't need to boil it. I've already boiled it once. I'll just let that settle, pour it off, and then put a third rinse. Same thing, and then I'll do some hydrochloric acid. Oh, the gold's looking really nice. Looks like there's a fair bit there. I've just poured out the water, so that's why it's all up the side. And little bits of it did go across, that's normal. That's why I always pour it into another beaker. I'll let that settle and get the gold out on the bottom. But for now, this is time for a hydrochloric acid. It's had its 3 water washes. The poor man's AR is in here. A lot of all around here is cleaned off. I'm going to need to get a glove on, a bit of paper towel, and use some of that to get all this off here. There is some sediment down there that could be bits of IC chips or BGA chips, the dust that come across, so I'm going to need to try and separate that. I'll use some paper towel to clean all up here. You see it around the edge there. I'll do all that while this is boiling in hydrochloric acid, and just get it all nice and clean, ready for refining. I've cleaned the dish as best I can. A lot of this is baked on. I don't think it's gold, I think it's just bits of IC or something, residue that's all baked on. So it's as clean as I can get. So I'll just leave the paper towel in there, and that can all go in with the refine. That'll dissolve when it's being refined. So this is fairly clean now, apart from the rim there. Waiting for the finish of the wash procedure, and then we'll put this in it. The gold has been boiling in HCl for about half an hour, and looking at the state of this dish, what I'm going to do is let this cool down. Then I'm going to transfer that aqua regia into this dish, rinse this one off, and then put that beaker into here, so this one can have a chance to get clean as well. It's not always overflows or spills. Sometimes it's when I'm evaporating, when I was doing my nitric baths and so on, just having the lid off, the vapors can come up and then settle. So, or when I'm pouring and bits run down the side of the beaker. So I need to do that now. I'm going to let this cool down. And like I said, just transfer this beaker to that one, put that aqua regia into here. Give this a clean. I want to get all the gold from all the videos. This is all part of it. And these beakers here settled out, and I poured the gold that was in there into this one, and then that had also settled, so then I poured that gold into here. So it's all in there like it should be. So it's all getting washed in the hydrochloric. And yeah, getting close now, ready to refine it, almost. When I tried to pour off the HCl, there was that much gold in suspension. I've decided to filter it, and I'll rinse it while it's in the filter. And at the same time, the aqua regia that was in this dish, and then in this dish here, which is both of these are clean now, is being filtered. Because as I said before, there's residue in there which could be BGA or something like that. Could be IC residue. So once all that's filtered through and then rinse the filter through, I'll be able to use that aqua regia. I'll put this filter full of gold in it, and we'll start the refine. I'm so excited. I'm down to the refining stage. So I've taken the gold in the filter and I've put it in with the aqua regia, and I put a little bit more bleach in there, and I've got it on heat, medium heat, and now it's just time to let it do its job. I would like to thank my girlfriends for helping me redo my whole area. I've got a different table now. I've downsized. I've got 2 plastic trays to work with in case I do spillage. I've got a shelf here which is organised for things to go on. It was a much bigger table before. It came right out here somewhere. We cleaned up the area with the karcher, and I couldn't have done it without you, babe, because my back is so bad as it is. I'm sore from doing half of what we did. So it should be a lot nicer now with a smaller area. It was just too easy to pile the table up full of things before, and now it's a lot more compact. It doesn't take up so much room. I didn't need such a big table, and I was using it as an excuse to just pile stuff on. So I got a full tub of SMB. I went and bought some. It's in bag form, but I tip it into this bucket. There's my silver jar, and a few other jars that have got things going on them and that, and nice clean dishes that I did. So these trays have all been cleaned. All I'm going to do now is build my fume hood, and I'll be laughing. There's the bottle that I filter water into from the rain buckets, organised. So now it's just a matter of waiting for this to do its job, dissolve the gold, and can't wait. Okay, it doesn't look like it's all dissolved yet, but it's getting there. What I'm going to do is put some sulfuric acid in there in case there's any lead. Now, my sulfuric acid is brand new, as I've mentioned in another video. Once I opened it, air must have got to it or something, because it's never been the same. It was nice and clear, but it's gone discoloured. So it's still fine, nothing wrong with it. It's not contaminated, it's just air or something got to it. So that's all I need to do, just that little bit. I'll let that go now for another 10-15 minutes or so, and looks like I might need to put some more bleach in there. Should be a nice clear solution when it's all dissolved. Well, it's the next day, and you can see there's still quite a bit of gold not dissolved. That's the problem when you're using bleach, is it takes a lot of bleach, whereas with nitric it would be done with just a minimal amount. But we'll press on with the bleach. Now, I had a comment on one of my videos saying that wrong bottle, saying that bleach doesn't cause fumes. Well, I don't know what he's trying to say, because it does. You've seen me pouring the bleach into the solution. I put a fair bit in this time, and I put some more hydrochloric acid in there as well. But the fumes that I get are more of like a light yellow, whereas when I use nitric it's more of a reddish colour. So I don't know if he's trying to imply that I'm doing something dodgy. If that's the case, I'm not happy, because I like to keep it real. I show you guys things as it's supposed to be. So I can't do much more than actually pour the bleach in and show you that I'm pouring it in. I don't know what he's trying to get at. So I'll put the lid back on, put the heat back on, and see how that goes. When you're using bleach, generally it's only good for fine particles and gold leaf, gold foils, things like that. You can't use bleach if you're trying to dissolve jewellery and buttons of gold. It just takes longer with than it would with nitric. So, you know, about 2 or 3 times yesterday I put bleach in. There's a lot more gold there than just one little batch. So it's going to take quite a few, I think. I'll probably end up putting about 2 or 3 more loads in today. and we'll eventually get there. I'll give you a demonstration of the reaction between bleach and nitric. So there's some faint yellowish coloured fumes. They're dying down now. They were a bit stronger than that, but that's, you know, roughly like a yellow colour if you can see it. And then right next to it is some things soaking in nitric. See how orange that is? So that's what you would expect from nitric. Just a faint yellow. I don't know if you can tell. It is almost finished, but that's all I get from bleach. Sometimes if it's a strong reaction with copper or something in there, it can go a bit darker, but I've never seen it go as dark as this. So I think the person who said I was getting the wrong reaction for bleach was probably confusing themselves with a very strong reaction like that. That's not what bleach does. But this is almost time for some more bleach. I'd say the reaction is pretty much done. So I come in and get my bleach. Take the lid off and put a bit more in there, and if not much happens, I mean that's a normal reaction, but if there's not much in the way of fumes, then there's a good chance the gold's dissolved. So I hope that clarifies it a bit. Well, it's taken 3 days and I think 11 additions of bleach to finally dissolve all the gold. So now what I'm going to do is add some ice. Got a pile of ice here, which is made from distilled water. I'm going to put that in here to dramatically cool down the solution. Now the idea of cooling it down so fast is if there's any silver in solution, it'll crash out. I don't believe there would be. I would hope that my nitric baths did a good enough job of removing silver, but this is one of the best ways of getting purity is to cool it down very fast. I'll actually move it off that hot plate since the hot plate's hot. This side's not, so I'll put it over here. Let that cool down, filter it, and then I'm going to add some SMB. I plan on triple refining this gold, and I cannot afford for it to take 3 days every time I refine it. The purpose of this video was to show you that it can be done without nitric. I desperately need $3,000 for an engine for my car ASAP, so I have to get this done and get the gold melted and hopefully find a buyer for it. It will be available to anybody who wants to buy it. I will price it probably just above spot price because of the work that's gone involved in doing it. It'll be triple refined, but the way gold's going up and up and up, it won't be long before it's a good investment to somebody. So if anyone wants to support my channel and help me by buying the gold, it would be awesome. So anyway, my point is, the next 2 refines I'm going to use nitric acid just to speed it up. So now I'm just going to wait for that to cool off. It's still pretty hot down the bottom. I'll give it a stir. Nice yellow solution, looking good. The second refine, I'm going to use ferrous sulfate, because one of the ways to get purity is to use different precipitants each time. So I'll use SMB this time, ferrous sulfate the second time, and then SMB again the third time. When you're dropping gold, you should always dilute the solution by double, so add water to double the quantity. Well, adding that ice also doubles as diluting it some. And then when I put SMB in, I prefer to dissolve the SMB in water. And when I add that, it also increases the volume of water. It's no different to whether you want to put water in and then put the powder in by itself. It's exactly the same. I just think it's easier, kills two birds in one stone. So let it cool down a bit. I'll put SMB in and hopefully get some gold. Now I will take this opportunity just to do a quick stannous check. So with the stirring rod, I'm going to get some of the solution on the spoon. And put some stannous on there. And already having been diluted some of it means it might be a slow reaction. No, nice and fast. The more you dilute it, the slower it becomes, but the reaction will still be the same in the end. It'll still be just as strong. But that was nice and fast. It's a good reaction. So there's definitely gold in solution, which is good. There's a bit of rubbish floating around in there, so I definitely need to filter it first. Once that's cooled off, I'll filter it and I'll come back to you when we put the SMB in. Right, the solution has cooled down. I've got a concentrated solution of SMB in water. Concentrated meaning there's some that's not dissolved. I've dissolved as much as I can in that water. Time to pour it in. Now what I do is I put it on heat to boil it. That helps the SMB to burn off and helps the gold to drop. As you can see, I completely forgot to filter it. Getting carried away with trying to get it ready today. But it's not going to matter a whole lot. A bit of garbage in there will come out in the next refine. Been 5 minutes since I put the SMB in. As you can see, it's changed colour nicely. Shouldn't be long now before it settles. I should point out I feel stupid for saying that I'm going to filter it and then completely not doing that. So please understand I'm under a great deal of stress worrying about my car. I had a prospecting trip planned which I now can't do, and that may have found enough gold to pay for the motor, so that's on my mind as well. Worrying how I'm going to find the money for it, and I was so keen to get this done. I just had a lapse of thinking and just went ahead and put the SMB in, so doesn't excuse what I did, but I just feel stupid anyway. 15 minutes after putting the SMB in, you can see it's starting to clear up quite nicely. I'm so glad I learnt this. I used to sit overnight waiting for it to settle, but boiling it is awesome, so much quicker. So I've got this large flask which I like to use for lots of things, but mostly for my gold washes. Each time you wash the gold, you should always pour the solution off into a vessel, because little bits of gold can travel across and over time it can just fall out in a vessel like this to be recovered. Now this is obviously dirty, it's on the inside. I have washed it the best I can. I have nothing that can get down inside. The closest thing I've got is this, and it's so flimsy you can't put any pressure on it. Now when I try and get down inside and put pressure against the glass to scrub it, it just bends. It's ridiculous. It's the only thing I've found that's even close to becoming good enough for this. There's nothing large enough, long enough that I've been able to find to get down inside this. So all I've been able to do is put soapy water in there, put my hand on top, swish it up and down and try and get it clean that way. So the reason I'm telling you this is because when you see me using it, I just wanted to explain that I have tried cleaning it. It's definitely clean on the outside. These are just dribbles down on the inside and on it. So I've kind of got the top sort of clean, where I can get down with my finger to there, or hold this at this point here and put some pressure on it. But down in here, I have nothing that can get even close to it. So I just wanted to point out that I have tried washing it. It's been half an hour since I put the SMB in, and it's almost all settled. If I left it boiling, it would settle out in probably another 10-20 minutes, but it's getting dark out. It's almost night time. I'm just going to turn all this off and finish it tomorrow. That probably would have settled overnight. Just didn't quite have enough daylight. And then tomorrow I'll pour that off into my flask, start the water washes, hydrochloric acid wash and boil, etc., and then get ready to dissolve it for a second time. Okay, so it's the next day and it's time to pour this off. I'm going to need two hands, I think, and I'll get myself in a better position where I can hold it one-handed. 1 second. Alright. It's not easy doing this one-handed. I'm hoping that there's a decent amount of gold there. It's not looking as much as I would have hoped, but it can be deceiving. There's a lot of it falling down. I'm just pouring slowly so I don't stir it up. I mean, it won't matter if it goes into here, that's why I use a catch vessel, but I want to be able to get it all for this video, not to recover it later. I'm really hoping to get this finished today. So I don't know if it's going to be possible. 2 refines in one day. You see a bit of gold stuck to the glass around the outside of the beaker there. It might squirt down or it might not. Okay, that was pretty easy. So at this point, normally I would put quite a bit of water in when I do my washes. I usually either half fill or fill the beaker up, but I have no distilled water left. The shops are empty. There's none on the shelves, partly due to COVID and also partly because there was a major train accident, which is the only route to bring things across to Perth from the east coast, and then everything had to be taken by truck, and it took longer, and the shelves are empty, and yada yada yada. So I'm relying on rainwater. It's not the purest way to do it, but it's better than tap water. And it only rained for like 2 days, so I didn't really store much. I got some in buckets, and we're filtering it into this container which I use. I won't be doing large rinses like I normally would, but I'll certainly make sure that I still rinse it well. A lot of it is coming off the edge, but a lot of it's not. Some of it's going to have to be dissolved with the fumes when I do the next refine, which will happen easily, that's not a problem. So I'll do a little amount of rinsing like that, give it a good stir, let it all settle, pour it off, and I'm going to add a step that I don't normally do. Normally I just do 3 water washes, then a hydrochloric boil, and then 3 water washes, but I'm going to do 3 water washes and then a water boil, then a hydrochloric acid boil, and then wash it off with 3 rinses, just to make sure. So it's kind of settling out, but early in the stage like this it's not really clumpy like it will be later on. I'll give it a few minutes to settle. I'll pour that into here off camera, you won't need to see that. I'll actually do all the water washes off camera because it's not easy to do, holding the camera, holding the beaker. I'll come back when I do the water boil. Carry on. That's the 3rd water wash, and I've had it boiling now for 5 minutes or so. So I'll just turn the heat off and let it cool down, and then do a hydrochloric acid boil. When I poured the last bit of water off into here, there was some fine gold floating on top, which went across into here. That's why I used another dish. So it's not really a problem, I haven't lost it, but it's annoying because I want as much gold in here for this video as I can get. Hopefully by the time I've finished all these refines, some of it settles out on there and I'll be able to collect it. So anyway, I just let it cool down now. I'll be back with hydrochloric acid boil. Hydrochloric acid boil, it's been going for half an hour. I'm going to turn the heat off and let it cool down. So now I need 3 more water washes. I'll do those offline because you know what they look like. I'll come back ready for the next refine. Okay, so it's had its 3 washes. Now I've got some hydrochloric acid in there, and with a pipette I'm just going to add small amounts of nitric as I need it. If that doesn't dissolve all the gold, I'll add a tiny bit more, but that should be plenty. Best way to do this is to add incremental additions. You never want to pre-mix your aqua regia because there's no way of knowing how much nitric you need, and if you end up with too much then you need to denox, and if you don't denox then it causes problems getting your gold back. This is the best way to do it. So we'll just wait now and see if that drops, dissolves all the gold, and see how it goes. Alright, so it's been 20 minutes or so, and you can see there's still some undissolved gold. So add some more nitric. I'm not going to do as much as last time. I'm just going to do a few drops. See if that does anything. And if it doesn't dissolve at all, I'll put a couple more drops and so on. There's only the tiniest little bit of gold to go now. In fact, I think it's dissolved. A few minutes ago there was a tiny bit there. So now I'm going to turn the heat off, let it cool down, and this time I will filter it. So just like before, I've got some ice cubes made from rainwater. I'm going to put it in there to help cool it down real fast, and hopefully drop out any silver that could have been in there. even though I doubt there is. It's just a easy step to do, so why not? Okay, I haven't forgotten this time. I've got the filter ready, and I'm going to filter the solution. I won't need to show the whole thing, you know what it looks like when something's being filtered. I'll tilt this down a bit. And I'll be back when that's finished. I finished filtering, and as you can see, having the ice in there cooled it down so quickly like that has made the silver chloride drop out. Looking through the camera it looks dark, but when I'm looking at it here it's grey silver chloride. So that's only water in there. I was rinsing it off to get all the gold solution out of the filter, even though it's still yellow, so we've been rinsed out. So now I'll put this aside. I made up some copper as last night, so I'm going to pour the copper as in there. Nice colour change. And now it's going to sit and wait. You can see some of the gold's already started coming out of solution, floating on top there. Did you notice I put pretty much double what was already there? So you always got to double the solution. Some nice gold sitting on top. And what I'll do is I'll get the spray bottle and give that a squirt, get it to sink, so that I can pour this off when the time comes. See, that's how it helps the gold drop down. And that can all settle to the bottom now. And I'll come back once it's settled, pour that off, and go back through the wash procedure again, because you always have to do the wash procedure. We're trying to get a maximum purity here. And then I'll dissolve it a third time, a triple refine. It must be reaching a good purity because it's settled out already. It's only been half an hour. I've never known copper as to settle so quickly. It's all on the bottom there. So I'll pour this off into the waste container. It doesn't seem to be stirring up, it's all sitting there nicely, which is good. You pour it nice and slow. It started to escape that time. So what I'll do is I'll do some water washes now. I'll actually do another one in a minute. What I'm going to do is let that sit on that angle. When it sits like that, then I'll be able to pour the rest of the solution off nice and easy. I'll give it 10 minutes and see if it sits out. Well, that wasn't even 5 minutes and it settled nicely. I've poured the copper as solution off. So now rinse it with some water. I'll get some more. Give it a good swish around. Let that settle out. And I've got a clean, smaller beaker here. So once I pour that off, I'm going to transfer the gold into that. It's much easier, smaller, and so that's, I'll forget the first bit of water I put on. This will be the first water wash. I'll do 2 more, and then I'll come back when it's time to do the hydrochloric acid boil. Wash number 2. settle out. Wash number 3. Well, that settled out in like a minute, 2 minutes, something like that. There's little bits that are trying to escape. It's no big deal. Stop that from pouring. And put some hydrochloric acid in there now. Give it a boil. Put a plate on so it doesn't evaporate. I just want it to boil. And come back in a few minutes, half an hour, whatever. It's been about half an hour now, so that should be plenty. Turn the heat off. Let it cool down. Looks nice. Look at that. Nice, chunky, clean gold. That looks really good. Alright, just let that cool off. Time to wash out the HCl. Rinse number 1, this is rinse number 2. Look at that. Beautiful. Watching for little bits that are trying to escape. And rinse number 3. That's the chunkiest, nicest gold I've done so far. Cool, got that done. Final refine. And this is almost done. Can't believe it. HCl. Now I have to load up my pipette with some nitric because there's none left in there. So 2 seconds while I do that. Okay, so last time I put in half a pipette and then I try to squirt more later on. So there's a half a pipette I should say. Put the heat back on again plate back on. You can see it's already starting to work down there. Looking good. I'm not going to add the extra squirt just yet. I'd rather wait until I need it because I don't want to over nitric. Okay, so the last little bit of gold has dissolved. It took a while, so I must have just had the right amount of nitric in there. Now, I went through my wash water vessel and retrieved any gold that had settled over the last couple of days. It's usually the first refine or two where there's really fine gold. The last ones were pretty good. And I've caught just a little bit of gold in here. Not a lot, but it's something. And it's been going through all the same stages to catch up to this. Now it's a hydrochloric acid wash there. All I need to do now is a couple of water rinses to get rid of the hydrochloric acid, and then that can go into there. Okay, so I'm hoping this will be the last refine. If once I've cooled it down and filtered it, I see more silver in the filter, then it means that it's still not pure enough. Hopefully the filter will be spotless, and that means I can wash it and then melt it. So I've got my ice ready. I'm going to take the gold off the heat and cool down. Put the ice in. Let that cool down and then filter it. So far the filter looks really clean, which is a good sign. There's only a little bit more to go. It's looking nice. Should get some good purity out of this. Okay, I've just cleaned this taller beaker because I'm nearly ready to drop the gold. Now, you may have seen, or you probably would have seen in a lot of my videos when I'm processing things, that maybe the beakers are a bit dirty. It doesn't matter when you're processing things. What it does matter is when you're dropping the gold, when you're doing the wash procedure, all that type of thing. You don't want to introduce any contaminants. So you need nice clean beakers. Now, I'm going to pour that, once it's filtered, into this taller beaker for two reasons. One, because I'm going to be adding SMB and water to that, and if there's any extra nitric in there, which is probably the minimalist amount, I think I've got it spot on because it took a while to dissolve that little last bit of gold, but there just could be the tiniest little bit, and there might be some sort of reaction in here and it might bubble up a bit, and I want to make sure there's enough room because it's a tall beaker. And the other reason is I'm going to then put it on heat and boil it to boil off the SMB, and it makes it drop faster and so on, as you would have seen before. So in the process of it bubbling and boiling, gold vapors and bits and pieces and drops are going to come up, and I would rather they land on the side and dribble back down than to come out and land in the dish, and that's probably how I get all this sort of stuff. If I was to boil in that beaker after adding SMB, which will probably come to about here, I would definitely lose gold solution out of the top. I want to minimise that by using the tallest beaker I got, and hopefully there might be some vapours come out, but most of it's going to catch on the inside and dribble down into the beaker again. So now I'm just going to wait for that to finish, and I'll be ready to drop it. I've just mixed up some SMB in water. As you can see, it's pretty much the same volume in liquid, because you've got to double the volume of the liquid. And once that's finished filtering, I'm just going to rinse off now all the paper and try and get every last bit of gold juice out of it. Once that goes through the filter, I'll be able to drop the gold. It's almost finished filtering, and as you can see, there's some dark stuff. down in the filter. Now that's not silver chloride, that's black, not grey. So I'm thinking there's no reason or way that any dirt could have got in there. I'm thinking that's tiny, tiny, tiny bits of gold that didn't dissolve. If it is gold, that's perfect, because that means there wasn't quite enough nitric acid to dissolve it, which means I won't have excess nitric. That's if it's gold. If it's not gold, I have no idea how it got in there. So it's nearly finished, just a few more drops. I want every last drop to come out. Almost there. I can't wait. Okay, so here we go. Time to pour in the SMB. Go slow first, see if there's a big reaction. There's no reaction, so there's no excess nitric. And then getting that white foam on top, that's enough. There's only a little bit left. It won't matter if I have too much. I'll just put a little bit more just to see if I definitely get white foam. Yep, I can keep this for another job. So now it's time to put this on heat. Start boiling it down. You can see it's already starting to do a colour change. We'll just give it a few minutes filming it and see if it comes up. Starting to change quite nicely. If I didn't add the liquid, if I just put the powder in, you'd get a lot faster colour change. But you don't get a very good drop. You need to dilute the solution because gold drops quicker and easier, or it drops better from a fuller solution, from a diluted solution. But you can see now, this is real time, no time lapse or anything. You can see it's going nice and dark. So it's going to be a good drop. There's definitely no excess nitric. And it's just going to get darker and darker now, so I'll go and let this boil off and come back. Okay, before I walk out there, there's so much smell of SMB, I won't be able to talk, and if I put my gas mask on you won't hear me. So I'm going to go out and show you the gold. Literally not even 5 minutes since I last filmed. I went inside, I came back out, and the gold's already dropped. And it's already a nice caramel brown colour. So I'll hold my breath and quickly go and show you. And you see it's already completely dropped and the solution's clear, but I'll let it boil a bit, boil off the SMB. Well, life got in the way as usual. I've had to go out for a few hours, but I'm back now, and look at all that gold. Geez, it looks good. So now I'm going to pour this off into my flask. Stirred up, I didn't want that, so let it sit there for a bit. No, I don't want to lose any of it. I wouldn't lose it to go into the flask, but I want to get every bit of gold for this video, so I'm going to leave it sit on that angle for a bit. Okay, so do a couple of rinses. I'll do this one water rinse, cold water rinse, to try and get some of the SMB off, and then I'm going to do 2 hot water rinses. I find hot water works better, so I'll let this sit for a bit and settle while I boil the kettle, and then I'll do 2 hot water rinses. Tell you what, this is the perfect colour. You don't normally see this caramel chocolate colour until after the hydrochloric acid boil. So it must be awesome purity. Put some hot water in there. Give it a swirl around. This helps to get rid of the SMB. Let's put that on an angle. Let it sit for a little bit. Shouldn't take very long. After the hydrochloric acid boil, it settles real fast. Hopefully it'll be a little chunky like last time. Even that fine stuff that's floating around, I want every bit of it. I'm going to give it time to sit. As much as I can get for this motor. Even though I won't be losing it if it goes in the flask, I just want it now so I can melt it. And some of it's floating on the top, so I may need to get the spray bottle and give it a little bit of a squirt, but we'll see how much it settles. It looks like it's all starting to settle. You can see just here there's floating stuff that eventually goes down. And it's starting to sink. Yeah, it's all starting to sink. Just needs a couple of minutes. I can't see any more floating. And pour nice and slow, it won't stir up. Yeah, some of it's going over. I'll give it a bit more time to stop. I'm going to sit there for about 10 minutes or so. And we'll try again. I don't even want any of it, the fine sediment to go or anything. I just want to, yeah, that's it, it's sitting better now.
Stop. It's going out.
Yeah. Give it a bit of a spritz. Some of it's trying to escape. There's only a little bit more to go. Okay, one more hot water wash and then a hydrochloric acid boil. I'm not looking anywhere near like the 21 grams I started with. Let that sit. Any of it floating?
No, I just squirted it.
There's still a little bit just here that's moving around still. It's just gonna, no, I'm just saying it's in suspension still. I can see gold starting to coat the glass. This sometimes happens. I don't want to try that. I'll put hydrochloric acid in there now. A little bit of water's not going to hurt. I'll put it on high to boil for 15 minutes or so. Hopefully it goes all chunky like last time. Okay, I'm pretty excited because the gold has gone nice and trumpy, which is good. I'll just put the kettle down and do 2 hands. And pour the hydrochloric off. And give it 3 hot water washes. A little bit floating on top. Let's see if I can squirt it off. There's some fine stuff on top still. And that got it. Oh, there's still some on top. One little bit that wants to keep floating. Okay, wash number 2. No, still floating. Just give it a minute or two to sink.
Right there.
There is going to be some residue that goes over, but that's it. And do number 3. There's a little bit in there you can see already. What can we do? 1-to-1. some on top. It's annoying when it floats on top. A lot of it's all clumpy down the bottom. There's just one little bit that keeps wanting to float. You can see it's all over the glass. You can't really tell if there's a good amount of gold in there or not. Right, now I'm going to get it squirted into the melt dish. I'll have to pipette the water out.
There's more in there.
I was going to do it into a filter, and it looked really clumpy, so I thought, oh, I'll just do it into the dish. But I guess it's not all going to fit, which is a good problem to have.
Your puppet.
Yeah, it's all floating on top, just let it sit. We'll give it a few minutes to sit. There's more in here as well. It's certainly a nice problem to have. We'll be back in 5 or 10 minutes. Give it a chance to sit. Okay guys, so I just got to the end of the video, editing it, and now I've realised I've completely also lost the footage where I now tried to melt the gold. So I'll just catch you up. Basically I used my map gas to try and melt it. It kind of got, say halfway melted. It managed to clump together in a button, but it was really opaque. It wasn't shiny. It was sort of still a little bit powderish. I don't know how to explain it to you. It just wasn't enough to make it molten metal, and so it didn't go shiny. But I did take a photo of what it looked like, so I'll put that on there now. And guys, I really apologise for ballsing this video up. I made such a mess of it, losing the footage and everything. However, I'm going to do a follow-up to this video where I'm going to use my LPG and oxygen to melt it properly, and that video will be pretty much following this one. It won't be far away at all. So for now, I'll just show you the photo of what it looked like once I melted it. Again, I can't say, I'm sorry. I really wanted to make this a good video, and I've just made a total mess of it. Anyway, so for now, thanks for watching. I doubt it, but I hope you liked what you saw. And as I said, the follow-up will be coming very soon. Bye.